All right. I believe we're on. Yep. Okay. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming. Yeah. And again today, I'm going to speak a little bit about Trump, but throughout my teaching throughout the last year, in the process of you dealing with the fact of the coronavirus and the process of dealing with Trump and then the process of dealing with the election, my entire process was to explain to you the process of there not being a soul. It's really important you understand this, because if you walk around under a delusion, thinking that everybody is soulful, then you're wrong. You're really, really wrong. Yeah. And there's, it's not an evil aspect. It has nothing to do with evil. It has to do with the evolution of the being, whether or not we have actually evolved to that point, And one of the things that is really struggling for humanity is to understand anything to do with the initiations and the evolutionary spark that comes from Christ. Even the fact that Christ is on earth, and becoming right relationship to that. Everybody's very far from that. Yeah. And the reason for that is because we go from one conditioning of strong idealistic form, which we're brainwashed to believe. We don't know that we're being brainwashed, but we get brainwashed. Yeah, mom brainwashes us, dad brainwashes us, school brainwashes us. Your baseball team brainwashes you, your football team brainwashes you. Yeah, your military brainwashes you. Yeah, you can't look at the person in the Navy if you're in the Army and think, that you're there together. There's this brainwashed separation that goes on, a delusion that stems from this solar plex ability to be brainwashed. You have to have a strong connection to your solar plex. Yeah, and people just don't know anything like this. They have no idea. But people who do the brainwashing do. They know that by constantly saying something to you frequently, and doing things, like strobe lights or different music playing in the background, or different things that affects your senses, you go into a hypnotic state, and you have no idea you're in that hypnotic state. You're just listening. But you're getting more focused. You're falling into it more and more and more. Yeah, and that creates an opening door for people to receive false information, even make up false information. You can put a screen, literally, just put a TV screen in front of someone and have static on it. Yeah, give it 15 minutes, and that person will start seeing things. Yeah, they'll see something on the screen. They'll believe they saw something on the screen. Yeah, and you could do that with a Rorschach test. You could do that with many different things, because people see what they want to see. After a while, the mind does that. Yeah, yeah. So there's a lot that in the process of brainwashing, cults do that. All kinds of places and things do that. Yeah, and in our system, our society, we just look back to the 90s, where Jim Jones, comes to San Francisco. He's a priest, he's a preacher, and there's common everyday folks, want to go to church. They got families. They looking for a better world. It's not an easy world to live in. And this guy's taking advantage of that fact, that they're looking for a better world. Yeah. And he's crazy. He's got crazy shit going on. His brain's not right. And he is going into delusions of grandeur. Yeah. It's a psychological process that happens when you take on power. And if you're not ready for it, if you're not that person meant for such a position, then it will take you over. And your delusions of grandeur will come in and make shit up. In order to, and it's fear-oriented, like Jim Jones. He's going, wow, they're out there to kill us and the world is going to be destroyed, Or you could think of the guy in Waco, Texas. Wow, they're out there to kill us. Oh, the world's going to be destroyed, Or you can think of the lady up in Wyoming, the New Age movement, Elizabeth Clare Prophet. Wow, they're coming to destroy us, they're going to kill us, we got to get our nuclear ready defense system. We got to dig underground, we got to live in tunnels, all kinds of things to protect ourselves from what's going to happen. And that delusion of grandeur is what was going on. These people stepped into a place where Satan exists. And they didn't know that, they weren't ready. They're not at all in a position to do what they're talking about. Even as a priest, as a priest, you better ask no. Your job is to defend people from Satan. And it is the most dangerous job. You can be possessed very quickly as a priest. Very quickly. You just come across the first person who you find to be possessed, and you're not ready for it. And you do your water, and you do your little biscuit, and you do your this and that, and you come away possessed. Because you're already inside of a delusion of grandeur, and you're already building up a conspiracy reality. And the church you're in has a conspiracy reality. The Catholic Church has a conspiracy reality. Many churches are based on conspiracy-like realities. So it leads a person into a place of, where are they going to study? What are they going to do? Well, if you're a priest, you have a very high chance, due to the fact you do not know what it is you're up against. And there are witches and warlocks just walking down the street having a free day, doing astrology and all kinds of shit, and they're possessing people, doing curses on people, getting paid for those curses, lighting candles for people on a day-to-day basis. We know it's a fact. They sell Ouija boards and they give all these things out, And when the priests go out there to be a priest, they're not ready. So what happened? The priests became pedophiles. They became possessed by the very spirits that they're saying they're going to protect people by. And they get into this delusion of grandeur, and the whole entire group covers it up. They actually create retreat centers for priests who can't stop their pedophilia, and they get busted so much, and all the families are really upset. So they get them to leave that area, that location, send them to another location where they start all over again. And if they do that most frequently, then they go to a retreat and they stay there out of public process. But it doesn't change anything. There's still a pedophile living with a whole bunch of other pedophiles. Nothing's changed. So by the time they get out of there, there's so much in a delusion of grandeur. If you stop and talk to any one of those priests, they will look at you square in the eye and say they did not rape or molest. They didn't do that. They did something much more common, much more natural. No harm, nothing. In their mind, the demons in their mind became just like nested in there and became their everyday thought and their everyday reality, having no conscience. It was all just whittled away through delusions of grandeur. It takes away the spirit of the soul, takes away everything. You leave an empty vessel of a pedophile that can only live night after night, day after day, and desire to be a pedophile, to fulfill that process. So none of those priests were ready to go, no, I'm never going to do it again. Because they are. They're going to do it again. And how they're doing it, why they're doing it, is because they're open to an area that makes them go into delusions of grandeur. And this happens again if you get a lot of money, you get a lot of power, You get fame, you get fortune. Watch those people fall. Yeah? Watch the demons enter them. Yeah? Watch their behavior change dramatically. Yeah? Watch them age like you can't imagine. Yeah? Watch them commit suicide because they have so many demons inside of them. And it's all because of a deluded conspiracy reality. When you go into this thing to where you become famous, a basketball star, a football star, you get into this deluded reality that you are ultra special, worth all the money that you get. Yeah, like you're Superman. Yeah. And at the same time, they're actually being beaten to death. Their bones are being broken. Their spine is being diffused. Yeah. Their brain is getting concussion every single time they go on the field. Yeah. But the demons, yeah, the delusion of grandeur of the demons enter their mind. And their mind says, I got to do this. And it does it through obligation, through loyalty to the team. Yeah? And they buy the big house, and they get the old glamour wife, and they get everything that is expected of them because they got all the money to pull it off in their delusions of grandeur. Yeah? And that sets them into an enormous place where they're violent, they're angry, and they've never attained their soul. When that happens, no matter how well paid you get, no matter what direction you take, if it's not the direction that God set out for you, then inwardly, inside, you're empty. After a while, you feel like you need to kill yourself. It's all empty. No matter what you do, it becomes empty. Yeah. And that's same with football, baseball, basketball, all this stuff that are not soulfully connected will leave these people at the end of their time. They won't have insurance benefits. They won't have any money income. No one will take care of them when they go down. Nothing. It's just like going in the military. When you get out, see you on the street. Yeah. Yeah. It's a conspiracy of delusion. Yeah. Delusions of grandeur. Yeah. And that delusions of grandeur, this process of going on, that goes on in the world naturally. Delusions of grandeur. You become a priest. You're under delusions of grandeur. You're going to step up directly against demons. Really? You sure? Well, you should have not lied when you entered your priesthood. You should have said you were gay. But saying that you're gay won't get you in the priesthood. So you start off by lying because you want to protect yourself. You want to prove that God will accept you as you're gay. But God won't. And you keep going, your delusions of grandeur gets worse, the demons get worse. And you become a pedophile. Yeah? And it's a symptomatic reality. Yeah? This happens to people who are very high in positions, very high with money. They quite often become pedophiles. Yeah? Because they can't fulfill their desire body in their delusion of grandeur because it's soulless. So it leads them to behaviors that are soulless, whether it be drugs, alcohol, smoking, rape, pedophilia. Yeah? All of that, it's part of a delusion of grandeur. People are in a state of delusion of grandeur when they get into that. And a lot of times, to be in that, you've been brainwashed before you got there. And it took you off your path. Yeah? Yeah? Maybe the priests, when they went into the Catholic Church, knew that everybody's gay. It's a big lie. Let's party. Maybe they knew that before they went in. But they certainly found it out when they got to Italy. And when they lived in the Pope's arena, everybody partied gay. Yeah? Biggest bathhouses, more prostitutes per square mile than any place on earth. Both male and female. Yeah. And that's not just because the mafia lives there. It's within the Vatican. Surrounding within a quarter mile of the Vatican is the most corrupt delusions of grandeur, of brainwashing, that has all the symptoms, of suffering and sacrificing other people in the process of being possessed by demons. And yet they're priests coming out of the Catholic Church. And then they go out into the world, and you have them in Chicago, New York, you have them in your little towns, your main towns. They're raping everybody. Wherever they go, they're found that they raped everyone. Every church had a priest in it that raped some kid. Yeah, it's not just an occasional thing. Yeah, it is brainwashing. Yeah, and it comes out of delusions of grandeur. Yeah, the outcome of it is bigger than you can imagine. Yeah, here we are. We're thinking that we're voting for a president. And you get power. What happens? You have the chances of mental illness coming upon you, creating delusions of grandeur. Yeah, big chance when you enter into the political realm. Yeah. Study it. Look at senators and congressmen and all the people, mayors, police chiefs, police officers, people with the stronger, willful side of being the authority. Yeah? And they misuse it because the elements of delusions of grandeur comes into them. And they see themselves outside the realm of reality. And they make up their own shit. Yeah? They don't have to have any guilt because they're above the law. And in this process of creating, social delusions of grandeur in every way, there is an actual pinnacle to it. Yeah? There's a leading force that comes with it in our society. And if we think, wow, this, what if you add psychicism to this? What if the area in which people are devoted and committed to this delusion of grandeur comes out of the solar plex, the astral plane, the solar plex, the strongest emotional field that is in a human being, yeah? And everything, that we're dealing with today has to do with that thing, that process, yeah? And it creates capitalism. And if you look at capitalism, it is like a triangle, yeah? And you see the top of it, and there's like the president or a king, And sitting on top of that is money. Lots of money. It's not down there, it's up here, up at the top of this triangle. And there's a king or a president who stands there, yeah? And below that is the clergy and the military, yeah? And they defend the corruption inside this delusion of grandeur because they too are in the delusion of grandeur. And they leave everybody else under them, the workers, the middle class, the people, blue collar, yeah? And then the people below that, who are the farmers and the people working for the people who own the business, yeah? They're holding everything up on their shoulders, right? Everything. Every single dime that's made is made from these people down here, yeah? And because it's all set in a delusion of grandeur, we can't feel what's going on down here, even though you're one of them. You can't feel it, yeah? Because we are supported as a great big body of delusion of grandeur. It doesn't just come from an individual, but it comes from a collective group of very sick social conditioning, yeah? Conditioning, yeah. And it conditions us to think in the most negative terms, yeah? Conspiracy. Things we can't find out the truth on, but, because we're looking for the truth, yeah? And it's mainly because we are not the truth ourselves. Yeah. When we don't have the capacity to see the truth. Just like trying to be a priest and think that you have the capacity to do that, or try and be the president and think you have the capacity to do that. Try and be a doctor and think you have the capacity to do that. You actually don't as an individual. You need a team. You need the technology. Yeah? You need science. Yeah? And it has to be illustrated through that. So science and God are the only two things that keep us safe. Yeah? Those work things out. Science and God. They're the same thing. Science and God. Science and God. Sacred geomancy. Mathematics. The equation of the Great Pyramid. The distance of light and speed. All those things that's known as science is God. Yeah? So when we come into this period, you know, the great joker in charge goes, science, you know, scientists, we're against scientists, you know, they're anti-economy. Yeah? If we follow the science, well, we'll lose a lot of money. I'd rather lose people than money. 250,000 people, could have been 2 million. That's their reaction. That's their response. Yeah? Because you need to be brainwashed so you can be softened. In the process, they don't know how bad it's going to get. They don't care. As long as they can maintain this capitalistic cult. A cult. Yeah? And most of the cult actually is stirred from conspiracies. Illusionary conspiracies. Yeah? Hitler was a conspiracy. In Germany, it was a democratic country. Yeah? In 1911, 1910, 1900s, just like America, it was coming up a democratic, revolutionary, enlightened country, you know? I mean, the people that were there at the time, Einstein, everybody, Tesla, all these people were oriented from that location, you know? So as it was evolving out, at that time, it was democratic. But then, there came the conspiracy. And Hitler came in and says, you know, we don't want the Antifa. So they create Antifa. And they come in. And they say, we don't want the communists. We don't want the fascists. We don't want tyranny. You know, all of that stuff. And it was a conspiracy. They didn't have those things. Already the king had given up. Already the people had moved into democracy in a beginning stage. But because of the process of the conspiracy that was whaled up by a leader, you know, a political leader, yeah, and they were focused on psychic influences, yeah, how to do this through a psychic cult, how to create a cult, yeah. So they worked out 20 years of consistent focus, just like what we have today known as QAnon. Yeah? It all comes from the exact same process that happened with Hitler and how he got to take over the way he did for as long as he did until we finally got the wall to go down. All due to conspiracy. East and West Germany, the whole bit, a conspiracy. All of Russia's propaganda, a conspiracy. All of China's propaganda, a conspiracy. North Korea, a conspiracy. Yeah? And in America, why was Kennedy killed? A conspiracy. Yeah? The man who killed Kennedy was a #1 agent for conspiracy. That's what he did. He worked for the Russians. He worked for the CIA. Yeah? And his focus was conspiracy. That's all he did. He went around spouting conspiracies everywhere. Yeah? Cuba is good. Russia is good. America is communist. All this conspiracy. You know? And it was just because he himself had been programmed in Russia and became a counter agent while he was in the military. He married a Russian wife, came to America, and the conspiracy grew. You know, the process of his being dominated. Now imagine at that time, Russia was using psychic generators and psychic abilities to control chess. And they hated America, and they hated Kennedy. But they don't have to go there and take the gun and shoot him. All they need is an agent who transmits and receives. And that's how he got shot. Yeah. That's how he got shot. Yeah. And that's how Martin Luther King got shot. Both in exactly the same way. And that's how Trump became president. Yeah. It's how he became president. And that's hard to imagine. Trump says, QAnon? I really don't know. I don't know much about them, but I heard they really like me. That can't be bad. Yeah. That's a big lie. Big lie. I got video of the fact that he and the major agents that work with him worked with the person who created QAnon and was the biggest conspiracy radio talk show out of Texas and all around, creating constant conspiracy issues. You know, all the way from lizard extraterrestrials to drinking blood and everything. All of that comes from this one guy who started it back in the 90s. Yeah, this is him here.
Government orchestrated
The alliance between the conspiracy theorist,
He just kept adding more and more outrageous lies to the story.
the dirty trickster,
Roger delivers
do we know him?
legitimacy to Alex Jones, and Jones delivers to
That
Trump,
is on the
a
day
disaffected
President
voter.
Trump
and
became
the president
president.
of the United States.
will not let you down.
Now those ideas, which used to be on the fringe, are in the mainstream.
Conspiratorial thinking is a feature of this president.
Now on Frontline, United States of Conspiracy.
This program contains mature content. Viewer discretion is advised.
So you might want to remember, and when you watch these programs, remember these people who are following QAnon. They are hearing President Trump's voice in their head.
Of enormous tension.
They're hearing his voice in their head. He's telling them where to go and what to do.
but I gotta shake your hand.
He wears different ties.
I was
He
in
talks
the
in
studio
code.
with Alex Jones.
He doesn't
and
know he's talking in
Roger
code.
on election day.
But the channeling
And
process, the
metrics
elemental
were
process,
off the
on
charts
top,
about how many
you know,
people were
is
tuning in to
manipulating the
InfoWars,
whole thing. It's
numbers
turning
that were
in on
comparable
itself.
to the networks.
Yeah?
Alex Jones,
Check this
extremist
out.
conspiracy theorist, had rallied his audience behind Donald Trump.
Is saying Trump is projected to win.
As the night drew on, it became clearer and clearer that
He
Trump
only
was
won because of
likely
this
to
guy,
win.
not him. He became a major partner.
They had no idea whatsoever that Trump was going to win.
You talked to the Trump campaign.
All of a sudden, everybody
But
was
they made it
super
happen.
elated. We had some staff members.
They got
that
millions
was
of millions of
running
people
around
to
the
watch
office
this
in a
TV
big
program
circle.
on
I mean,
the
people
night
were like,
before and the
"Oh!"
night
I mean,
of the
going
election,
crazy that
moving
night.
millions of people to go out and vote for Trump who wasn't going to vote.
Love you guys. Love all of you.
Just, you know,
There
conspiracy
was a
people don't believe
combination
in politics
of
or voting.
elation and confusion.
They don't want to do it because they believe it's
And
all
they
just a sham.
realized
They
that,
got the
oh my
conspirators
God,
to go
we just
vote.
played a role in making the president of the United States.
Here goes Trump.
He's there with
Turn it up. Donald J. Trump.
He's going up to the microphones. He's going to be
The Golden Toad.
I assume he'll mention the phone call he received.
Get ready. I tell you, he charges into a goblin's nest.
This is amazing.
As long as he doesn't,
President-elect of the United
as long as he doesn't kiss a goblin, goblins vomit. Catch him in bed with a goblin.
I don't think there's any danger of that.
No, he defeated the goblins. He did it.
Stone and Jones believed that they had been instrumental in getting Donald Trump elected, or that certainly they had driven successful narratives that helped to get him elected.
I was exhausted but euphoric. Jones was exhausted, but he was downcast.
It's almost 3 o'clock in the morning, Central Time.
Watch and see how much hate is in this
called
man.
And I asked him why. And he said, you don't understand. This is just the beginning.
Now we are bound forever. And if we don't deliver this plan and free humanity, we will be bound to the ninth circle of hell. I
don't know if you've ever read the Bible,
I will never
but it talks
stop
about
delivering.
Satan
In that
coming from
moment, it
hell
was
onto
visible
earth.
that there was a reaction.
Yeah,
because
and
he started
walking
crying.
amongst mankind
I mean,
as
his
the
emotions were
Antichrist,
evident. They were
and
streaming
bringing
down his
this
face.
sort of reality into effect.
I've said it.
You know,
I've already run my
you
course.
can
I already know my
laugh
entire
at Trump
life
being
purpose
something
has been
evil,
completed.
you
I
know,
will
but he's
continue.
worse than evil.
But now,
He's worse.
I realize
Yeah. He's from some other reality, and he
Alex
came
Jones
into
is part
this
of a bigger
reality.
phenomenon.
And that
What
reality
people like Alex Jones and others
is
showed us is that conspiracy theories are an effective political tool.
Alternative
they work.
reality
They help shape
of
elections.
hate.
They help shape public discussion. They help people decide what to believe. Conspiracy theories work.
And check this one out.
When I was 19, back in 1974, I was recruited into a front group of the Moon cult and spent 2.5 years in it as a right-wing fascist fanatic leader. Then I was deprogrammed after a near-fatal van crash, and I woke up and I realized I want to understand how this could have happened to me. Mind control is absolutely real, and what we're talking about is not where you control your own mind, or an ethical therapist is helping teach you how to control your own mind and your own feelings and such. What we're talking about is a form of what was called brainwashing, thought reform, coercive persuasion, or undue influence. And what it is, it's using hypnosis, it's using control of sleep, privacy, information control, indoctrination of irrational fears called phobia indoctrination. It's inculcating a dissociative-like disorder in people's minds. With QAnon, I've watched specific recruitment documentaries, and there are intentional hypnotic techniques being used.
Have you ever wondered why we go to war? Or why you never seem to be able to get out of debt? Why there is poverty, division, and crime?
And without someone understanding how the mind works and understanding how to discriminate what is coming at them, especially if people are binge watching on the internet one after the next, and this is where the algorithms of the platforms have been absolutely devastating and nefarious in terms of radicalizing people.
So what is the wrong way to try and de-radicalize people?
The worst thing you can do with a family member or friend who gets into QAnon or one of these conspiracy cult things is to cut off contact with them. The risk of saying, oh, it's just stupid people, ignorant people, people who are weak, which they said about me when I was in the Moon cult, by the way, which I was none of those. I was trained to die or kill on command as a Moon member. Not everybody in QAnon is going to do anything violent, but there are people that are being singled out, I believe, especially former military officials, former police who have a weapons training, and they're being groomed to kind of like a Civil War scenario.
Interesting, huh? Kind of being groomed to a Civil War scenario. This is a serious situation. Yeah, this is a process where most of these people, and you see them, they have flak jackets, they have machine guns. They are military people, or people who couldn't fit into the military and got out because they were not submissive to authority. Yeah, they thought they were inside of a conspiracy and they needed to do more in order to save humanity. Yeah. And so they become militants in the United States, and they're all over the place, whether you're in Sweden or wherever you're at. This whole thing is getting the way it is, yeah. But imagine, you know, we have Trump, his process of conspiracy is that right now he's making everybody to believe that the voting was rigged, yeah. And, you know, but he has to use QAnon. He has to use conspiracy in order to build up what he's really in the office for. Yeah. So he's creating ranks. People that are coming in by the millions that are coming into the process of being recruited, whether it be the Proud Boys or Antifa or Black Lives Matter or just his militia that is coming in from the police and the military. You know, and they're in this process of believing that, you know, this really is a takeover of the government. That these evil bastards have taken over our president's office. And we can't allow this. And he's pushing that. He's saying that. And these people are believing that. And this is their God. This is their savior. He's going to keep children alive. Because that's what they're saying. That all these children are being kidnapped and killed. And I could show you video of young girls who have been molested by this man and raped by him. So he's a pedophile. The very thing they don't want is the guy that they're saying they want to stop it. You know? He's the very thing that is wrong about what it is they're saying is wrong. All those things that, you know, evil does is what this man does. Yeah, and what his friends do. Yeah, you know, all of them, whether it be Jeffrey, you know, or all of them. Yeah, I hope she's okay. I hope she does well. That's what he says about the girl who's in prison right now, who's a pedophile and a ringleader of pedophilia. Oh, well, I hope she's okay. What? Where's your anger when it comes down to this? When he's so angry about everything else? How come he's not angry about someone who's a pedophile and a ringleader of pedophilia? Yeah. It's mainly because he's on the list, top list, of people who has to be persecuted as a pedophile. And somehow he's thinking in his mind he has to divert that. So he's going to create a civil war. Yeah, whether anybody likes it or not. And all it's really going to be is just millions of people all the time carrying flags saying Biden is not president. We're in the middle of a civil war. Nothing's true. You know? And for 4 years, as long as this man is kept in the process of being in public domain, where he has public rights, as long as we allow him to be free, this thing will go into a civil war. But if we do the right thing, and all of it is set up by God, he's been busted. The lawyers are waiting. The vice president is the #1 attorney of the whole United States. President himself will not pardon this guy. And he can't pardon himself, which he keeps saying that's what he's going to do. He's looked into it since 2018. He has commented over and over, well, I can pardon myself, not as though I've done anything wrong, but just to let you know, I found out I can pardon myself. I can even shoot someone and I get away with it. I pardon myself from it. Pardon me. Yeah? Isn't that funny? Pardon me. That's just hilarious. Yeah? So the whole influence of this thing is set up for all of us, everyone, yeah. But at the same time, Jesus Christ is sitting here talking, yeah. And there's a very big event of people being freed from these demons inside their brain, and they have no idea. The priests aren't doing it, yeah, and yet they're there, yeah. And people are being enslaved by their weird conspiracy theories and people who project that and recruit people into it, and they fall into it. Yeah? And the whole weakness behind human reality that we're in today is at a point of shift. Yeah? Because this guy has more power over this scenario than you can imagine. And I'm here, and I'm bringing about a transition, you know, that'll come into effect into humanity through Native American Indians, through Tibetans surrounding this nation with no delusions of grandeur. Yeah? There was great delusions of grandeur in Tibet. Everybody followed the Dalai Lama. Everybody believed in the Dalai Lama. There's nothing that man could do wrong, although he killed masters. Although he killed masters. He killed Buddha. Yeah? He killed Dorje Chungden. Yeah? He enslaved and murdered Shamar Rinpoche. He enslaved and murdered the Panchen Lama. Yeah? He made it so that the Chinese knew the location of the newly incarnated Panchen Lama, so that they would go to that house, take him, kill everybody in the family, and put him in prison. He wrote a letter to the Chinese to make that available. Who does that? In all of Tibetan Buddhism, we have a secrecy effect to all tukus is a secrecy effect. No one is to be told anything, not even the mother or the father. Groups, large groups of kids are to be checked out so that no one knows which one is the real one. No one knows, because this is a very dangerous world. And there are people like the Dalai Lama who wants to stop the reincarnation of tukus. And he's even said in his last few years, he says, there's too many tukus. You know, I really think we should not have so many tukus. You know, yeah. You know, so that's just one person. And it took me up until the last 3 months to get Tibetan Buddhism to move him to change. And he made it possible for me to externalize as my previous life of Dorje Chungden, my incarnate life of Buddha Maitreya, you know, that is now closing up, where he stood there like a demon, lying over all my previous incarnations and lying over this incarnation, keeping all of Tibet from having any contact with me. Yeah, that is a major problem when it comes down to the truth. Yeah, because reincarnation is God's work. It's not humanity's work. It's God's work. Yeah. So the influence of that was one thing, and then you got the influence of the Pope. You know, and he's shifting from one Pope to the next, because they got so much pedophilia going on, yeah, that they had to claim one to be so much a saint. His name is St. Francis, you know, so that you'll think better of him while he's letting these people go. Over the years, 15 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years of your knowing that this is going on, but yet nothing is done about it, about any of it, yeah? And it's only until recently, through my work, that I'm destroying the demons inside their brains, inside their mind, while they're alive. Yeah? I did that to so many already. I did that to Trump. I'm doing it to Trump, but Trump is the hardest one of all. Yeah? He holds the, you know, like the ace of clubs or something to the game. Yeah? He instills a victory in the minds and the hearts of people as though the devil should win. And his whole behavior is the behavior of all wrongness. Yeah? And when people get so corrupt in their mind of delusions and they pick the devil, knowing the devil, seeing the devil, and yet they still pick the devil. All the signs of behavior is in the devil. Yeah? He can't not be that way. He's so spontaneously evil, corrupt in every way. Yeah? If you get near him, he corrupts you. And that's the truth with this guy. There's not a person who comes near him who doesn't get corrupted or run. want nothing to do with them because they will be corrupted. And once they're corrupted, they go to hell, and then he kicks them out and destroys their life because they've been in hell and now they're imperiled. Yeah? And he spins what? Yeah? A conspiracy around people. Every single person he fires, he starts whittling out through all of his little cohorts conspiracies over Fosse. So at a point, people are coming to kill his kids because this man creates a conspiracy of hate. Yeah. Well, now he's creating this whole process where the United States is inside a non-democratic state. We cannot allow our president to become the president because we have a dictator. And he's going to prove himself as a dictator till the day, and it will be at noon, in January, at the hour in which he's supposed to leave. I believe he won't be in the building. He will have left the night before. And he will continue the process. I will not, because this is a conspiracy, and I'm the head of the conspiracy. So focus on me. I'm the real president, and everything that goes on from here on out is a conspiracy. Yeah? And that's going to just drive millions of people into his cult. Yeah? And everything that goes on, news, the process of Biden and every single thing that goes on will be hit by avarice. As humanity, as the lower levels of humanity. Because imagine, if you go into a classroom, you enter a class, right? And you go in, and you've been there for just 3 or 4 days. But after 3 or 4 days, you realize, you don't want to get near this person over here. And you don't want to say much of anything, because there's a lot of bullies in this room. A lot of people picking on people and saying things, and it's not nice, And we have that reality, a bully reality that goes on in normal situations, yeah? Because there are some that are the good angel, and there are some that are the bad angel. And the bad angels, they sit in a state of we're the senior football players and all this kind of stuff, and they seek that, and they get this glory, and they do that. And the girls go off into their little beauty parlor thing, and they get into a clique, and they come back. And then they could just treat everybody like shit. Bow to me, get my clothes, buy me lunch, and then they leave, and they can't cook, they can't clean a house. They want the husband to clean the house or get a fucking maid for me. The whole process is built on a delusion of grandeur that starts at a very young age. And people are capitalizing on other people. They're capitalizing on making other people weak. And it's not a conspiracy. It's a matter of fact. And unless we see it as just as a matter of fact, and we have to become the most meditative, calm, gentle, compassionate people you can imagine, so that those people do not have followers. Because you go into the school again, yeah? What happens? You get a clique. You get a cult. You get 8 or 9 cults in your whole entire school. Yeah? You got your basketball cult. You got your little girls running around with your pom-pom cult, Then you got your separate, gay cult, Then you got your dress up and separate individual sex-like scenarios, I'm a boy, girl, I'm a girl, Cults. Yeah? And in every cult, there is a recruiting scenario. We are weak in our process. Yeah? And we're being used. Yeah? And we have no idea. We're not clear enough in mind to realize that the people who are pedophiles are perverts. perverts for a long time. This isn't new. They didn't get hit in the head and all of a sudden now they want to rape little kids. They've been this way since they were young. And they've been fighting it and dealing with it. And finally they have opportunity. And they carry it out. Homosexuality is a reality. And for a long time, it was behind the closet and nobody can come out. So you had pedophilia. You had rape. Yeah? But then once they come out, then you have recruiting. And pedophilia grows. Yeah? And there are still those who are priests and others who are behind the closet who can't come out because it's wrong for them to be gay. And they're pedophiles. But they're actually gay is the reason why they're pedophiles. Yeah. And we are been committed to this delusion of grandeur to think that homosexuality is a natural course of evolution. Yeah? And it's not. Yeah? Its percentage is so low. It's rare beyond rare. And it should remain that way because that is its nature. But you can, if you're that person and then you start having sexual relations through recruiting and manipulation and offering children opportunity, yeah, and you do that to 100 to 300 or 400 children, and they grow up, and they become pedophiles, and they go through processes of rape and anger and issues, yeah, that are psychologically screwed up, yeah, because they were hit in this area of unhealthy human conditioning. Yeah. And we don't understand it. As long as we don't understand it, and the very people who are doing it are making laws to make it possible for them to continue doing it. And utilize children. The focus is the children. They want to make sure children know that they're gay at a very early age, and they're not. The percentage of being gay is in a fraction within the millions. A fraction. It's not even 1%. Yeah? That's the truth. But if you got recruiters like your grandma and your uncle and your aunt and your cousin and your neighbor, yeah, and Uncle George, yeah, who comes in the house and all of a sudden he's going to fulfill his desires. Yeah. And that hits this kid like you can't imagine. And they just can't talk and they can't behave and they can't do the things they want to do. But now they have the demons in their head. Now they have the thoughts in their head. Now they enjoyed homosexual sex. Yeah, over and over and over. And they didn't really enjoy it, but they were seduced and manipulated. And in a psychological way, they had to twist it over. Yeah. Maybe it's me who desired it. Maybe it's me who pushed this person into coming after me. Why me rather than all these other people? Why me? I'm gay, obviously. Yeah. So just by rape and manipulation and all the things that we know has gone on in the priesthood, yeah, in all areas of sports, yeah, in all areas where children are located, yeah, child care centers, yeah, schools, yeah, yeah, Boy Scouts. They had to close it down because there's too many people manipulating children for sex. Yeah. It's just the way it is. And that's, if we look at the truth, we could deal with it. But our problem is that we're putting people in positions and we don't discern, discriminate, right? So here we have a president of the United States. How did that man become president of the United States? Did he have a psychological test? Well, if you want to be an astronaut, you have to have a psychological test. Yeah? You have to go through all these ability tests. You know? Are you creative? Are you psychologically inhibited in any way, shape, or form? Yeah. President of the United States, you think the person who could push the button to a nuclear war and create havoc throughout the world for a 4-year term ought to have more than just him filling out an application to become president of the United States. And that's all he's got to do. Fill out an application. There is no requirements. Yeah, you can go in without being a high school graduate. The only thing that is required is that you are a citizen of the United States. That's it. That's it. And anybody who wants to be president can't be president unless they are a multimillionaire. And it's only at that position in life do you have the opportunity to be able to fund yourself and get into the league, the level where people are thinking about going into the Senate and Congress, and they're rich people. They're rich people. And rich people think they run anything and everything, you know. So we have no qualifications for president. Yeah. We have no testing, no examination. Yeah. In our minds, in people's minds, and all minds are diluted with false information. Yeah. Because we don't go through the educational process to understand our system, where we're really at in this. Yeah. So imagine, you think you're voting for a president, and you think that this whole thing is what it is, but what if a great deal of it has to do with the influence of an ongoing delusion? Yeah. Imagine, it's an awful process when you go through this election and the president who's won has won by 5-6 million votes, has 306 electoral votes. Yeah. All you need is 270 to win. Yeah. And in each area there's an electoral vote. There are at least 14,000 votes ahead of the incumbent. So there's no way you could check those votes over and over and over again. Historically, that's been done. And you always find there's no more than 50, at most 100, over tens of thousands that you find, that shouldn't have been processed. That's wrong. This doesn't have this information. Okay, we won't accept it. But it only comes to 50 to 100 over masses, hundreds of thousands of votes that has to be retabulated. So the change of that in reality, in all reality that we've ever had, and we've done this many times, we've never changed the outcome of an election because the votes are primarily accurate. Yeah. And yet he's going through this process as though it's not accurate. Yeah. And what does that do? That changes our ability to do what's right in a state of compassion. Yeah, so that increases our solar plex. It increases his devotees' solar plex, because you have to come to understand this is a cult scenario. We are in the United States, and we have a lot of cults. Yeah, yeah. We have many, 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 many cults. Yeah, crazy-ass cults. And the QAnon started here through this incredibly crazy guy that started up this whole thing of conspiracy from the 90s all the way to the day President Trump was made president. And it was through that conspiracy, not because of his qualifications, yeah, but because he was a co-conspirator. Yeah. He is the one thinking of the conspiracies. Yeah. He's the one impressing out there the conspiracies. And when they come into play, he goes, absolutely, and he quotes them on Twitter. He quotes the conspiracies on Twitter. Yeah, or Twitter, yeah. So he's doing everything to recruit the continued process, yeah. And his element of not allowing the vote to continue means that he's ended democracy. He had the power to end democracy. And now he has the power to create a civil war against democracy by creating a delusion of grandeur inside of people that doesn't exist. Yeah? And that can't be changed other than through the Holy Spirit. Yeah? So this process of humanity coming out and being able to come into a healthy place is the only way it can get there is if Trump is put in prison. Yeah, because you gotta strangle the dragon. You know, you can't just pet it and make it a pet. Yeah, you have to end its life. You have to stop its current of activity. Yeah, you have to put it in its place, and it doesn't come back. But you have to do this. It's not vengeance, it's control. Yeah, it's right use of will and law. Yeah, so this guy's broken every law known to man, every law known to man. Yeah, and we have a president and a vice president who, before they ever became president and vice president, said, "We will make sure our number one important thing is that this man goes to prison. His family goes to prison. And people who have sponsored his ongoing illegal activity will go to prison. And the banks who have used his process for money laundering in America, they will be shunned from relationship of business as a bank and probably closed down." Yeah? You know, so there's going to be doors that are closing. Doors that are closing, yeah? The conspiracy, the relationship of pedophilia. Well, guess what? This man's going to be on the stand with enormous numbers of boys and girls giving testimony. And do we believe in children or do we believe in the devil? Like at the time of Michael Jackson, do we believe in the children or do we believe in the devil? Yeah? All the security guards saw it. All the maids saw it. Everybody who worked there saw it. Yeah? But he conned those children as a cult leader to keep them from testifying against him. And the ones that did, he paid them off. That's all record. Everybody knew it. But yet everybody still loves Michael Jackson and is not influenced by the fact that he was a major pedophile. And there's nothing, a moment in his life that you should think was good and that he should have been tolerated. And you should feel within your heart that you should have done something to get him in prison and keep him from raping that kid again when he got out of that courtroom. Because he did. He married the kid right after the courtroom. He married that little boy. And he went and had sex with another little boy who was just a little younger than the one that he had been going with for 3 years. Yeah? He had kids that were on chemo he was having sex with. Yeah? And I spent all my time trying to get everybody to realize this is what's going on. Yeah? And we can't clear this thing. We can't stop this thing until we come to dealing with the truth. And the truth allows us to live within a law that allows us to take a person with handcuffs and put him behind the seat of court and judge them for what they've done wrong. And that transmutes the evil that was going to take place inside of society. If we do it correctly, the entire militia will shut down. Because they will be decrystallized by realizing the one they're calling the leader of the evil force, the pedophile, the corrupt one, the manipulator of everything, including elections. He did that to us. We can't follow this. Yeah? And that's when everything will start clarifying. You know? And these events will take place. All of it has to take place, and it's all set up by God. Yeah? So it's not vengeance by God or anything like that, but it is the law of love. And you gain strength and courage, and you do it. You do it. You grab that demon, yeah? and you set them down, and there isn't anything you have to worry about as to how many lies comes out of the demon. With Christ on earth, people will be given the discernment to use the law of love rather than the law of hate. Yeah? And we will do everything to stop imprisoning people who are addicts, addicted to shit, addicted to problems, addicted to robbery, addicted to everything that they've got going on. They're addicted, yeah, because of this corruption, yeah. And they're in the area of capitalism that suffering is so great. What can they do? They're ripping people off. They're robbing people. They do not have any other means, you know? And they're looked at as black people or Mexican people. That's what's expected of these people. That's so terrible. That all has to be lifted up. And you can only do that by capturing the dragon and put it in a cell and not let it talk anymore. No news media, no tweeting, no nothing. You're gone. You could sit there for 20 years till the day you die. You can just do that. Yeah. Live your life. Yeah. It won't be a process of let's kill him, let's make him suffer. But the law is, under all these conditions, that person should be in prison because they have to be kept out of society. Because imagine, he's planning on coming back into office. And if we don't have this under regulation, stating the fact that he's not qualified to be president and to go up for president again, if we don't do this right, he'll do that, and these people might elect him into office again. And we go twisting all the way back where we're going to go in this next 4 years. Getting back online, getting health care for everybody, putting everything into right relationship in the economy, and bringing back the ability for us to take care of this virus properly. All that will get done, but if he gets back in, I'm telling you, we'll get another virus, we'll get a war, you know, we'll have everything go on. And all of that could be stopped, yeah, if the law of love takes over. Yeah. And I believe with this president and this vice president, they are under the law of love. Yeah. Everything that is influencing this new cycle that's coming in is not a conspiracy group. They're clear of mind, they're clear of the Holy Spirit, yeah, and they have the integrity to be able to stand up against this guy and not let him manipulate them with anything. There's no laws that he could verify that he didn't break a law. There's no law that he could do that. He has evaded taxes. That's a big one. Yeah. He is now completely going into bankruptcy over the next 4 years. Yeah, that's a big one. And then he's manipulated and raped children and adults. Yeah, that's a really big one. Yeah. So there are these enormous, he's got to pay back debt, he's got to do all these things. That is a law of love. That's the law of love. You got to stop it so that others will not suffer. You don't go toward the addict and beat them up for all the horrible things they are experiencing in their life. Yeah? You capture people who are the drug pushers. Yeah? You capture people who are got the big bucks sitting on top that are moving pedophilia and moving this corruption into action. If you stop them, it'll all dwindle because it's truly a psychic force. Yeah? It's not like, you know, they're saying in QAnon, but psychicism does exist. And its process of being a cult is the strongest influence of psychicism on the dark side. Yeah, because it leads people into believing persuasion, you know, that this group or that person needs to be killed. Yeah, and that's where they're being moved to. They're not putting flak jackets on, you know, just to, you know, come out and try and persuade you. They're putting them on because they believe that the system that we're in cannot be trusted, and the police are corrupt in themselves, and they can't do the job that they're meant to do, and the military can't do the job that they're meant to do. So these are all people under this process of Trump. Trump is saying the same thing. Don't believe in this election. Everybody in the polls were all just corrupt. You know, it's just amazing. It requires insanity in order to fall into that. Yeah. So, but it's all done through manipulation of the mind, brainwashing. Yeah. And if you go into the process in QAnon and you listen to the interviews of people who are on QAnon, they'll all say, this all got started by me sitting in front of the QAnon website and watching it for days, never stopping, staring at it, every single thing that came up, going from one to the next. And by the end of it, they were programmed. Their whole mind was instilled with all kinds of programming. Yeah. And there wasn't a thing that they could do about it, because they've lost their will. They lost their perception. They lost all ability to think and act and be fearless of any kind, have a happy day. All that's gone, wiped away by being hypnotized in front of the TV and having hypnosis come in and program you. Yeah, over and over and over again. Just study it. It's exactly what they're doing. Yeah? And this cat, our president, is doing the same thing. He's tweeting these messages. And those are lies that he's saying. But each lie goes into your brain. Yeah? And because you're a follower of this person, your brain gets more demons. You can't get the lie out. You actually are the supporter of the lie. Yeah? And that builds on these people. And that becomes an enormous influence in our nature of trying to do the right thing. You know, no matter what we're doing, whether we're driving down the road, making a decision, paying our bills, getting a credit card, all those things are affected by our fellowship. We need fellowship. Yeah? We need people following the right path and tearing up their credit cards and doing good things in life and making common sense because they have the law of love going on inside of them. And not a bit of it has to do with a conspiracy. It's a realization of their own truth. Yeah? And everybody's in the same boat. But if you're taken over by this conspiracy thing, then you lose the desire to think that you're in charge of your life, because you've automatically given all your power away in thinking that the outside world is a conspiracy. And they're controlling you, controlling your mind, controlling your desires. And their whole thing is the fact that that's all true because that's what's happening to them now. Yeah? The very thing that says, watch out for the conspiracy, is the making of the conspiracy. Yeah? The very thing that says, you know, we're the good guys and these are the bad guys. The good guys are the bad guys. Yeah. And the conspiracy labels everybody over here as blood-drinking pedophiles. Everybody who's a Democrat is a blood-drinking pedophile. That's how crazy it's gotten. Yeah? And that influence, if you look at this guy, you know, he's as perverted as you can get. Yeah? And yet he's the way shower to protect them from the very perversions that he is. Yeah? So it's that astral plane. It's just like if you're a magician, you have to do something to take their attention away. Yeah? And then you do your sleight of hand. And then they all go, oh, whoa, how'd you do that? Yeah. And you can set up scenarios to happen. You know, it's just like saying over and over and over, there's going to be a lot of bad things happen during the presidential nomination process, and the polls will be illegal, and the write-ins will be wrong and everything. And in saying it, he's instilling not a prophecy, but a projected reality, because he's going to come back around and be the one who's saying it, where he's the one who said that's going to happen, only because he knows he's going to say it. Does that make sense? So this false sense of, oh, the man knows the future. The man knows more than we do. He already told us this was going to happen. Yeah? It's just like saying, oh, that bathtub's going to drain in 20 minutes. Really? How? You know, and then hold your head the other direction. You know, talk to you, take you into the other room, you know, do all kinds of sleight of hand, you know, oh, you want to play cards, you know, 20 minutes has passed. Oh, hey, we ought to check that bathtub. I bet you there's no water in it. You know? Oh, you're a prophet. Oh, my God, you're God. You know? Look at most of the magicians out there today. Many of them on the street that are famous claim they're God. They claim they're God. I've had people in class who see these people walk on water, and they question me, you know, if this guy isn't a saint or God, because he can walk on water, you know. Yeah, he's a magician. He's a fake magician, fake, prestidigitator, a fake, gets away with it, sleight of hand, all those things. But in a world of creating delusions of grandeur, it requires fake magic, because God is magic. Real magic. Yeah? So you've got to do, you know, to be God, you know, you've got to create an illusion that you're in charge. False prophecy. Yeah? False direction. Yeah? Claiming that there is a conspiracy going on, and you're the leader of the conspiracy, and you're going to protect him from it. You know? You know, that level of delusion is the amount of astroplane that's inside of humanity. Yeah? And it gets cleared out. Yeah? All we got to do is just wait it out. Yeah? I'm doing fasting. Yeah? And do whatever you want to do. Yeah? Because I know everybody is being overshadowed. Yeah? I'm just going to do my thing, and my thing will affect your thing. Yeah? And this process of him coming out in January and being told he has to leave, well, he will leave, but not in the fashion that we think. Yeah, he'll leave to create a cult. Yeah, and he'll stage every day as a way for him to get on stage, not to get off stage, but to get on stage. So he is going to become a rock star, not a rock and roll star, but the most famous talk show host and person who does these great big gatherings as he does today. Thousands of people gather to his talks. You know, well, that's his plan. He's going to do that from here on out until he becomes president again. He's going to continue doing it, raising up all these people that want to follow him to allow them to follow him. And not being president anymore, he's got all the free time to do these events, and he's going to do that. Yeah. So my job is to put that shithead in prison. Yeah, and stop this kind of crap. You know, I'm not interested in anybody's opinion. Yeah, this has to be dealt with properly on the planetary logos. There is not going to be any more shit like this anymore. Yeah, I don't care if you're Putin. I don't care if you're the Dalai Lama. I don't care who you are. It's done. Yeah? And I'm going to do everything to instill the Holy Spirit in demons to declassify their ability to channel. I do that to people every day. I give out etheric weavers and all kinds of stuff, and witches and warlocks come across them and they cannot channel anymore. They can't be a medium anymore. They can't do any of those things whatsoever anymore. And if they choose not to do that, they croak on the street. I go to Glastonbury, and that place was a coven of witches, you know, houses of witches, you know, that you can go and stay at. Every single one of them have died over the last 5 years. Died. Yeah. And that kind of unexpectedly. This is the mayor of Glastonbury. It's the head witches of Glastonbury. All these, are just croaking off. And the stores aren't being reopened with new witches, young children wanting to be witches. Not at all. The witches are gone. And they're not coming back. And the same thing is going to happen here. And the same thing is happening in Tibet. And the same thing is happening in China. And the same thing is happening in Korea. It doesn't matter where you're at. My body encompasses this earth. Yeah. This is my earth. Yeah. Its creation is maintained by God. Yeah. The influence of these delusions of glamour come from every single ray that's expressed as a glamour. Yeah. So my work in this monastery and all my tools, and as I come out in Who's Who and on the news, and actually am a person on TV, and actually a person who goes to the presidential situation, and I'm known as a top consultant in the world. As that makes manifest over this next 4 years, the door of the astral plane closes. Yeah, because you don't know that you have a spokesperson with Satan running around in every country, in every area. And they're heads of the priesthood, they're heads of the government, they're heads of the military, they're heads of the police, they're corrupt politicians of every kind. They're all over the place, So you have no idea that this thing has come down and taken into manifestation, So my work is to bring about a change by bringing the hierarchy into an externalization, by saving them for the first 60 years of my life, and saving them to the point to where they're safe and they can begin to externalize in future life. So for the next 4 years, a great deal of that energy will be going out into the earth, into the planet. And people like the Pope and other people are going to be signing all kinds of statements saying, okay, I'm going to let you take these priests and put them through your system. And I'm going to allow you to let them go to prison, which has never happened before. Priests don't go to prison. Because the Pope says no. Well, there is no such thing as a Pope, people. There is God. And God put laws in the Bible. And we need to instill those laws as people and not let any one person put out anything anti-God. When they're caught, when they're busted, when it's obvious, they're liars, they're false prophets. They're not who they say they are. And that is God giving us the opportunity to realize wrong is wrong. Now we have to use the law of love and be willing to walk into the Pope's office and say, you're fired. All this is fired. Your crimson robes, fired. Your whole process of Armageddon, over with. Your coming of Lucifer, done and already happened. Now we'd like to see your bank books. Now we'd like to see what you're doing with your time and energy. And now we'd like to investigate every single priest and not have anybody say anything about it. Because this is the land of God, not a territory that separates God from human rights. And that's what's going to happen over the years, is that I'm going to go everywhere and I'm going to talk it through. I'm going to explain how this isn't right and we need to pass these laws, and I'm not leaving until the law is passed, and I'm not leaving until your sheriff has been changed. I'm not leaving until we're willing to open those gates and walk in large masses and start opening doors in every location and ask the priest to leave. And then we investigate. And we do this everywhere. We do this to the Queen of England. We do everywhere. Because corruption is beyond your wildest imagination. It's causing the suffering of every living human being. And if we use the will of God our own right to ask questions. Are you ripping us off? Are you stealing everything? Do you actually think you own England? Personally? Yes. Well, you're wrong. You don't. You don't own it. And you don't own all the countries that you said you owned a long time ago. Greenland, Iceland, Finland, Australia. No, you don't own it. Canada, no. America, we said no. Yeah. It's all in the law. And what happened in America was an establishing of the law of love, so that we can make this stance, we could do this sort of thing. Yeah. So because of this, because of America, because of me, because of all of us, we have a Holy Spirit that can affect every nation because we're from every nation. Yeah? We're the foundation of Italy. Yeah? We're the foundation of Germany. We're the foundation of France. We're the foundation of Canada. Majority of these people come to this continent not to be Americans, but to experience freedom. From those things, that they get in their country, that doesn't have the ability to maybe change it because they bought into it so much. If you're under a king or a queen, why stay? You never own the land. You'll never have anything. So there's an enormous change that's going to take place. And in America, we've had that. As I externalize, I'm going to make sure on a worldwide scale, everybody can hear me. Yeah. And I will tell everybody the truth. And I will not stand up for evil. Yeah. If Biden is wrong, I'll say it. And Biden will become good and correct and straightened out. Everybody's got a weakness or a place in which they've been manipulated and can still be moved. I'm here to give people strength. Yeah. To strengthen every part of every person in every way so that we could strengthen our incarnation when we come into life, rather than being seduced by every form of evil that you can possibly imagine, whether it be poverty or, pedophilia or rape or whatever. Yeah. All of those things come from the astral plane. They come from perversion and glamours. Yeah. And they can only be healed by God. Yeah. So this is a time we have all these conspiracies. We definitely have a civil war coming. We definitely have, all this craziness. But we got me. Yeah. And I'm holding it into a place to where if we take the senior head of this thing, can actually stand strong and use the law of the land and put this person in prison on many levels and keep that person there, No, you don't get out because there's a coronavirus. Sorry. No. You don't get out because you got cancer. Sorry. No. You don't get out because you got a brain tumor. No. Sorry. Got a wheelchair. There you go. None of that happens. None of that. It's a time of retribution. And the clearing, wrong is allowing wrong, is wrong. When we allow wrong and we can't discern or discriminate it, then we're facilitating it. We're a co-conspirator in the process. And everybody gets really bad karma from that. So these actions that I'm going to be taking just by telling people the truth, no, you got to do this or you got to do that. None of that will happen. The only thing I'm going to do is be standing there so that everybody can receive the emanation of the truth. And as I speak, it enters their brain. And the demons dissolve. Because it's all in the mind, people. This whole thing's in the mind. And we have abilities with our mind to heal people, to move mountains, build pyramids, lift stones with our minds. Yeah? Right now, none of that is possible. We can't even hear the communication coming from an animal. Yeah. You can't hear the desire and needs of children. Yeah. You can't hear it. You can't react to it. You can't respond to it. That is going to change. And not through you feeling guilty and me putting up commercials and saying, look at all the starving people, give me your money. Yeah, none of that. It'll all be by wiping away the causal plane. The process where evil is happening in causal reality. Yeah? It's like there's karma, but there's collective karma. Yeah? Group karma. Massive karma. Yeah? Yeah? Collective astral evil. Yeah? And in that process, it can be stirred up. You can walk into a room and you're fairly calm, but then you get someone who is controlling and manipulative, and they say things and do things, and all of a sudden your emotions don't feel right, and you feel defensive, and you feel like you want to shut down or you want to defend yourself, do something, but you're actually now being controlled by your emotions, not your mind. Yeah, because your mind has been attacked, by delusionary conflict that you can't make sense of. Crazy people on a delusionary thing make gossip make sense. The whole base of this thing is based on gossip. It's those little things and wrong things inside the head that think that they can tell another person what to do or when to do it or why to do it or what's wrong or what's right, when in reality it should be God doing that. Yeah? But human beings step in before God has the chance. Yeah? Because God allows free will. So God is patient. And it's a timely scenario. And it really requires people all around not to gossip anymore. Yeah? Not to use other people's names, focusing on people. Yeah? Because it leads to a delusion of grandeur. And you have no idea that every demon inside your brain is there because of a delusion of grandeur. And it's not yours. It's other people's. And you couldn't discern or discriminate it because you were in a low self-esteem. Yeah? And you let that bully get to you. Yeah? And once you do that, you think you're the weak. Yeah? You don't have power. You don't have control. You don't have ability. Yeah? And it's all done in the mild-mannered quality of gossip. Where two people get together and just talk shit. Or think shit. Get angry. They get emotional. They get angry. They start projecting a delusion of grandeur, a conspiracy. They do, from their gossip. A conspiracy is created, and all of a sudden, you're not in an ashram anymore. God has been eliminated. The devil is on the land. Because in your little mind, which is quiet, it's not like going like this, but if it gets bad enough, the mouth opens up, and the evil spirit starts hitting the room. And you gotta do everything to not let those evil spirits into your brain and start thinking bad thoughts about these people and how you would deal with them. Your mean, manipulative, ruling self. Yeah? They want to make you do that. Think in the same way. And because they're just angry. Yeah? But that process of being angry is emotional, and it wants other people to be angry too. It's sixth ray. You get in people's face, you expect them to follow you. And there's nothing in a person that wants to be a cult leader, but the devil makes you that way. Does that make sense? You can't even get into a relationship without being a cult leader. That's sad. Then you got to get a divorce because you became a cult leader. That's sad. Now you think terrible about yourself, and you're in debt. You're in debt because we have a system that believes that women aren't of any value. So when you get divorced, you have to pay this woman who has no value in life in order to exist because she has no value. That's crazy. That's insane. Yeah, but it's the way things are. We are set in a scenario to where women really are set to where they don't have an income, they didn't have a job, they did stay at home, they took care of the kids, they had a value, they did all that. But there's no system to where if someone is put in an independent state, are they taken care of? You know, you can become homeless, you can become out on the street, you know, you can lose everything. Yeah. So we're dependent upon each other in this terrible way. Yeah. And it's not equal, because there are hardly any women who pay men after they get divorced. You know, it just don't happen. Even though they may have the money and all of that. It just doesn't happen, because it's just the way we've set this bias up, this prejudice up. And it's because we set women into a stereotype, and we have no governing system that supports humanity. Just as a person, we force people to get married in order to survive. Like a business. It's cheaper together. It's two. Yeah. Have kids, they'll take care of you when you're older. Yeah, it's an equity plan. You know, it's your insurance. It's true. And it's bad insurance, because look how it turned out in China. All the old people are sitting in little cubicles, and the kids want nothing to do with them. Look at all the old people here. They're sitting in little old homes, you know, and the kids are going, well, I don't know, I'm busy, you know. She's in Louisiana, and I'm all the way in California, you know. Yeah. No one puts people up, you know. I mean, in my house, I have ohanas, you know, in case I ever did have parents, you know, or someone I know has parents or have family, you know. Everywhere I go, I build ohana. And ohana means that you're not alone, that you have relationships, and that you have family, a lot of family, and that they need when they come to visit, they need a place to stay. Or when they get old, they can't afford a home. So you need to take care of them. Yeah? You know, so that I do that. I've done that in every place. I get a house and I take care of people, and I build a house and that has a specific ohana, so that if those people want a place to live, this is where you can live. You know? But that's not the nature that we have, because we're not free in an area of understanding how we get what we get, and what we get comes from God. You know, all my work, any economy that I get comes from God. You know, I serve God. Yeah. And everything goes around. You know, it's all works really well, and sharing and caring and all of that. Those are the natural qualities that's in every human being. It's not special about me, you know. It doesn't require high enlightenment to become human, you know. But to become human, we have to get rid of these conspiracies. We can't have gossip. We need meditation. We need compassion. We need empathy. We need caring. We need to understand the reason why a person can't remember or can't get something after you ask for it is because they have a problem. And that is not a negative thing. It's just that there's a problem, you know. Treat it like that, you know. Leave it at that, you know, and just solve it. That helps them. Just solve it. Don't say anything about it. Just solve it. Because that's what we do. That's what we do in fellowship. Yeah? We help each other. Yeah? Neighbor, friend, family, anybody. Yeah? We help. Strangers on the road, we help. Why? Because they got a problem. And they can't solve that problem. So stopping off and doing it is the neighborly thing to do. Yeah? It's a wholesome way of living life. Yeah? And it really does happen. We don't expect it because we're gossiping. We have this conspiracy going on in our head. But God constantly sends us his angels. Constantly there for you when you really need them. You know? And your whole life is based on that. Yeah? But in this gossip conspiracy realm, you know, we cannot pick up that, you know, maybe we need to be helping rather than judging. Yeah? Rather than suspecting, you know, some conspiracy going on. let's suspect that the conspiracy thought alone is wrong. And that in itself could be creating the event you're in. Because it's psychic. You never have any idea over your thought form process and how you build it and how it makes manifest. That's called karma. Yeah, it's a real thing. You know, so you got to watch what you think in your head, because that's where your karma comes from. Good karma, bad karma, outcome, you know, everything comes from your head. Yeah, so it's just how you deal with everyone, and how you don't turn it into any form of conspiracy, and you stay lighthearted at all times, because the problem is never too big. Never. It's always so simple. There isn't a problem you come across that isn't really, oh, okay, I'll try. You know, and then because you haven't tried and you spend all your time in gossip, then you're just flibbling around. The elements won't move with you, and it just won't work, because it's all elemental. And your brain has control over these nice little elements. Does that make sense? It's just ability to communicate. Yeah? And if you're soft and you're understanding and you move forward without the conspiracy element aspect, because you can only get conspiracy elements from the left-hand side. And when you choose to fix something, no conspiracy, no judgment, because the moment you judge, now you're in conspiracy, because you've raised yourself above the condition, and now you know how to rule it, you know, because that's, you know, just the glamour. Yeah. But it is what goes on. And the moment that leaves a person, they decide, nope, that's not what's going on. I will remain detached. You know, I do not have to become involved, and I can fix it or not fix it. Either way, it's just fine. Yeah? Yeah. That helps a person dissolve this influence of conspiracy, keeping them from moving forward and trying new things. Yeah. Work out how to fix it, how to make it. That's why I'm pushing people. Realize you need to try to learn new things. Anything new, anything whatsoever. Learn new things. Yeah? You don't have to become an engineer. You don't have to do anything like that. But stop diverting yourself from just putting yourself in a position of finding fault. Stop it. Yeah? And fix it. Yeah? Your insight of finding fault is from God. Your insight, that's insight. Now, you use that insight to bless. Yeah? And that doesn't mean you have to fix it. It means you have to not judge it. And then within a short period of time, the elements will come in and bless the person to come up with an answer, or an event will take place to move forward. Yeah? But it's the elements that get tied up. And it all starts in the process of judgment. Yeah? Does that make sense? Yeah? I read that. Okay, so let's pray. Before we pray, if you take in consideration that everything is an emanation of God, that God is the light. Before there was anything, there was light. Yeah? And that light turned into the Word. And from the Word, matter took form. Yeah? So it was under a willful aspect of God, manifesting and creating. And we're in it. We're in that. Yeah? There was nothing before that. Nothing. Yeah? All there was chaos. Yeah? And then there was light. Then there was the Word. and God made manifest that was good. Yeah, all good, everything good. Yeah, so when I give this prayer and I say open your heart, and let Jesus Christ inside. Yeah, that's because any of your conspiracy theory, any of your gossip, any of that, it's because you are in a separate state. Yeah, and you're experiencing separateness. Yeah, so you can't communicate with that rock, and you can't communicate with that person. No matter how close you get to the person, you can only use assumption to assume this person's like this, and it doesn't really fit reality. You'd like to know more, and everything that is of the truth. Yeah, but when we're in a place where the influence of the world that has been going on and all of the astral reality that goes on, it's impossible for humanity to get to a place to where they've taken the left-hand path for so long, the distance between that path turning around, literally turning around and going back down that same path, but letting go of everything that you created on that path. Yeah, and that takes time. Yeah, but in the process, there is the Lord, who stands as as everything, all things of creation. The Lord stands as that. Yeah. So when I give this prayer, I'm asking people to allow the Lord not just into your life, but into your body, into your spirit, into your soul, And the reason why I'm doing that is because that's what makes you. That's who you are, So imagine here you are in this material world, and everybody goes, wow, mothers, they're the creators of all mankind, And, out comes the baby, and she creates the baby inside of her womb, and the baby grows, from the mother, and all this stuff. How true is that? Is that really true? Yeah? Or does that baby grow on its own? And is it self-generated? Yeah? Did it create itself? What if you popped an egg out instead of have the egg inside? Would you still say, oh, that's my baby. That's part of me, this and that. But each and every one that comes out is individual. The egg is an individual, completely separate on its own. It's not created by the mother at all. Created by God. Yeah? It's the creator of incarnation, the creator of life. And it certainly has nothing to do with a mother or a chicken or an alligator or a whale. Anything that gives life. It's not them that's giving life. Yeah? There's already inside them the life. It's waiting. Yeah? And it dies off and comes back new eggs. Yeah? So all this keeps changing and it's fluid. So when a mother has a baby, she has an egg, and it becomes fertilized. Well, what happens? What does that mean? How does the mother have any effect over that once the egg is fertilized? Isn't it totally independent? Completely on its own, separating on its own. It's got its own mission. Yeah? It's manifesting its own eyes. Not mom, but the baby is doing that. Yeah? And the baby goes through the entire cycle of nature. Everything that comes out of the ocean and came from the ocean, get onto land, learn to walk around, do what it does. That's our life. That's our life cycle. We come from that reality. Yeah. So when we see the little zygote, when we see the egg and it grows into a zygote, into that little life form that is split off from many different and multiple form, it's creating a body. Yeah. And out of that, which is self-generating, comes a person. But then we go into this because we're a conspiracy theorist, because we assume and we jump to conclusions, you know, and we think God is a certain thing, like a machine. So the closest thing we can make out to be God would be the one that creates us. You know, that would be like the mother. So all throughout history, we get this process of thinking that, you know, because it works like this, then it must be like this. But that's not the truth. God gives us free will. Gives us free will. That includes your birth. Yeah? And you're the one who has to push and shove and breathe and do all the things to come all the way to the point to where you're ready to give birth. And you do that. Not the mother. You do that. Yeah? When it's your moment, you come out. Yeah? And it has nothing to do with mom. Nothing to do with dad. It's this independent birth process. And what if it was an egg? Yeah? It would be sitting in a basket all on its own. You'd be walking by it every once in a while. You know, then it crack and come open and you got little Johnny. Yeah? Yeah? But you might think differently about little Johnny. Johnny is self-created. We'd have a whole other thought about life. Yeah, which comes first, the chicken or the egg? Well, when we're thinking about that, we think the mother is the chicken and the mother is God. And which comes first is the chicken. And it's not true. Which comes first is the egg. And the egg is manifested by God. It's part of the process of God's creation. And it's completely foreign to the reality of one is part of the other. Yeah. So we have independence but not separation. We are dependent, but yet we're independent. Yeah. When we come out of the womb, we need nursing. Yeah. We need to be taken care of. All these things. While we're inside, we need to be taken care of. If we were an egg, we need to be taken care of. You got to sit on it. You know, you got to keep it warm. You know, all these natural processes that are part of nature, our nurturing process, our ability to be empathetic, our ability to care. It's in our instincts. Yeah. And it's not just survival. It's what I expect to have done to me when I incarnate. So we're in this natural wheel of life, yeah, that goes on. But that has nothing to do with a conspiracy. And if you go into a delusion behind God and keep coming up with these delusions behind God, false prophet, false illusions, then inside that, the lower mind can creep in. And while you're believing in God and doing your church thing and all the things you believe are right, you're being corrupted. Yeah? Because the church itself has stepped into the position of science. Yeah? And if we were in the right state of mind, in our religious state of mind, in our spiritual state of mind, you would see it the way I'm seeing it. Yeah? And you'd have no problem with the avatar incarnating as the avatar. And how Jesus incarnates very similar to yourself, but you yourself are an independent incarnation of yourself, reincarnating. Yeah? And the same as Jesus. Yeah? Yeah? Yeah. So it's without this understanding, you know, you put a great big distance between you and God. Where in reality, God is right there with you. Exactly the same boat, exactly the same situation. The only difference is the conspiracy, the illusion, the delusion, the confusion of where you come from. When God incarnates and stands up and says, "Hi, I'm me. I'm me. Yeah? I do not come from you. I came from me. Yeah? And now I give these teachings that frees you." Yeah? And that's in everybody. And tukus, they become that kind of consciousness. Even as a small child, they get the awareness where no assumption takes place. They have a fine thread that's called the sutrama that comes from their past life and enters into their building of their physical body. through their chakras. And at a very young age, by the time you're 9 years old, you're entering the second initiation, which is a pretty high level of telepathy and self-assurance. No conspiracies going on. You are self-realizing, because you were born by yourself from the beginning. Does this make sense? So there's a distance that you got to go to get rid of this shit. Because I'm expressing, here I am, avatar, all that. But everybody is an emanation of God. There's no separation in the process. The only difference is that you have amongst you Satan. And you cannot discriminate between Satan and Jesus. You can't do it. And as long as you can't do it, then the mind of Satan will control you. Because that's what Satan does. So the only thing that Jesus has to do, and all angels, you read about it, every angel comes to take out demons. The only thing Jesus has to do is conquer the demons of the time. And those are in your mind. You have no idea that that's where it's at. It's all, the whole thing is a war inside your brain. So raising the brain to go from personality to soul, that's where the seat of the soul is at, is in the brain, is in the mind, the higher mind. So that transmission, by giving this prayer and releasing you from the curse of not knowing that you've made an agreement, but you have, because you find fault in other people. And as long as you find fault in other people, the conspiracy runs thick through you. You find fault in yourself. Make sense? There is no origin to that conspiracy other than what's in your mind. You got to get rid of it. So enjoy the prayer. All right. Now, just relax. Okay, repeat after me. Lord Jesus the Christ, thank you for bringing me here. Lord Jesus the Christ, I open my heart today. I invite you to come inside. Lord Jesus the Christ, come and save my life. Receive me today as a child of God. Forgive all my sins and write my name in the book of life. I give myself to you. My spirit, my soul, my body. Receive me, Jesus the Christ. Now, the devil, the blood of Jesus the Christ is against you. I command you now to leave me. I do not belong to you. I am God's property. Leave my life. I disassociate myself from you. I renounce every evil covenant I have entered in with you. In the name of Jesus the Christ, I have received salvation. I am a child of God. Amen. When I say, receive me today as a child of God, forgive me all my sins, and write my name in the book of life. Well, Jesus himself is the book of life. And you can do all you want. You can do all your prayers, you can do all your ceremonies. But if you don't enter through Jesus, you don't get your name in the book of life. Yeah. If you don't imagine, you go through a process and all of a sudden you're looking online and you go, oh, I just found just what I'm looking for and everything, and then, and Jesus is here, yeah, but you don't start with what it says in the beginning, thank you for bringing me here, yeah, for the things that you find, the things that get fixed, your life that is what it is, you woke up, yeah. There really is. If you're going to exit this conspiracy, you have to give thanks. In order to exit the conspiracy, you have to enter Jesus Christ. And in order to exit the conspiracy, you have to make sure that you realize not only you are brought to Jesus Christ by your own free will, but Jesus Christ brings you to your life. And that's the book of life. That's the tree of life. Yeah? And Jesus is the only connection to that tree of life. Yeah? It's the only. You can take out a book, you can take out your prayer, you can grab your Vajra, all that. But unless you understand who this person is, yeah? And that how it got to you is under the will of that person. Willed it to get to you through all of your shit. He willed you to know he exists, to receive his blessing. There's so much in the non-attractive relationship to God that goes on that it's dispelling God, pushing God away, keeping God. And that's mainly because you're not acknowledging God for bringing you to the answer. Every moment, if you have a frustration and you just think, okay, Jesus, calm me down, Jesus, calm me down. I know I'm doing wrong, calm me down. And I'll do it. All you got to do is do that. Yeah. And will yourself to accept it. Yeah. Because I have to actually step in, and let you receive. If I was there, this is how I would do it. And if you were blessed enough to actually witness how I do things, it's so much different than the way you do it. I don't come off, I come off direct. I'm extremely just direct, and I just lay it out, and I even lay out steps as to how to get it done, all the things that's necessary is because those things need to come into your life, yeah? And your conspiracy process diverts you constantly into being able to understand it in this way, yeah? So I come in order to bless you through clearing of your mind. And then when your next opportunity comes up, which I bring, it's never, you're thinking I'm bringing, it's never that way. Even you're asking for a blessing, I got you to do that. Yeah? It's never, ever, ever the other way around. It's never that way. Yeah? So in this prayer, that's what you're to receive. The only way you're going to receive that is by understanding this. And once you come to understand that and utilize it every day and you change your life, you're a full 100,000% monk. You're a whole 100,000% nun. Not 100%, not 50%. Now I'm almost there. No, 100,000%. Yeah? And when you get like that, I'm in there. Yeah? Because I will not accept anything other than that. Yeah? Everybody's children, everybody's under Satan's rule, and everybody's looking for love. And they're doing it through Satan. And it's wrong. Yeah? And the guidance that I can give you is only the protection that keeps you from your lack of discernment. Your decision-making process put upon you by other people. Yeah? So receiving Christ and acknowledging Christ is a real reality. Not as a phenomenon of the past or something from the Bible, but a real reality. then you could receive that blessing that comes in that creates the manifestation of an ashram, which the world doesn't have, and which means it doesn't have Christ. And Christ is not here just for you. Christ is here for you to help Christ come into the world and manifest into the world. So you got to ask Christ into your life in order to get out of the way of doing the things for Satan rather than for Christ. And there's never a part-time job in this. This is 100%, 1,000%, 1,000,000%. Yeah? And it should happen very comfortably because I literally provide you your life. You just got to discern, discriminate whether or not that providing has an element to it of your desire body that hasn't gotten out of the way yet. You know? And you have to learn to discern, learn to discriminate, learn to let go, learn to move on, learn to achieve higher spiritual order. Yeah. All right, so now we're going to do puja. Okay, so close your eyes. This is the invocation of the 7 rays, the alignment of the 7 rays of God, and this is for the whole earth. It's not for your chakras, it's for the whole earth. So listen to everything that I'm saying. It's very beneficial to Christ. And you know, if your service in life is not self-serving, then I could make a difference. You know, but you ask me into your life and then you want me to serve you. That doesn't make sense. Yeah, does that make sense? You know, so the best thing is to serve God, you know, and, you know, let things manifest in the way they should. But it really requires a lot of will and ability to discern and discriminate. So listen to this puja, every single word. Don't allow yourself to pass out. Don't allow yourself to over-relax. Allow yourself diligent focus, because you're asking for this to enter your mind, and your mind has a tendency to enter your emotional body, and it'll literally knock you out. You'll fall asleep, you know. So don't let your emotional body get in the way of receiving the blessing. You know, stay strong. You know, stay alert, stay focused. Your eyes are closed, but don't fall asleep. Okay, listen to the words. It's just like having your eyes open. You know, your eyes open. So you can do it. I'm sure of it. All right, so close your eyes and listen. Seven rays to raise the senses of humanity, expressed as the soul. I invoke the sense of hearing in the 7th ray. Hearing the word of God, the word of power. Okay, take a deep breath. I invoke the sense of touch and the first ray as the finger of God. as the fourth ray, the beauty of revelation. I invoke the sense of intellect as the fifth ray, as the knowledge of God. I invoke the sense of intuition as the second ray, the understanding of God. I call upon the synthesis of the seven rays to be expressed through your personality. As the first ray of ideas, the mental body, the purpose, your life. Second ray of ideals, the astral body and your quality. The third ray of idols, your physical body and your form. The fourth ray of the fourth kingdom of humanity in balance. The fifth ray, the third kingdom, the animals. The sixth ray, the second kingdom, vegetables. The seventh ray, the first kingdom, minerals. I call upon the relationships of all the kingdoms to penetrate the personality of humanity and express its collective soul. The seventh ray and the fourth ray as the mineral kingdom. The second ray, the fourth ray, and the sixth ray as the vegetable kingdom. The third ray and the sixth ray as the animal kingdom. The fourth ray and the fifth ray as the human kingdom. The fifth ray and the second ray as the egoic soul. The sixth ray and the third ray as planetary lives. The first ray and the seventh ray as solar lives. gifts of the soul, to integrate the egoic ray and the personality ray of each nation, and to express its true expression, to make manifest peace on earth as one living whole body of God. I call upon India to bring forth its fourth ray of personality and to integrate its first ray of soul to manifest the hidden light. I invoke China to bring forth its third ray personality to integrate its egoic soul into its first ray, to manifest as the indication of the way. I invoke Germany to bring forth its first ray of personality, to integrate its egoic soul of fourth ray, to preserve the truth. I invoke France and its third ray personality to integrate its fifth ray of egoic soul to release the light. I invoke Great Britain and its first ray personality and its second ray egoic soul to bring forth its service. I invoke Italy and its fourth ray personality to integrate its sixth ray soul to carve the two paths. I invoke the United States and its sixth ray personality to integrate its second ray soul to light the way. I invoke Russia and its sixth ray personality to integrate its seventh ray soul to link the two ways. I invoke Australia and its fifth ray personality to integrate its fourth ray soul and serve the lighted way. I invoke Spain and its seventh ray personality to integrate its sixth ray soul to disperse the clouds. I invoke Brazil and its second ray personality to integrate its fourth ray soul to hide the sea. I invoke the entity of this planet, the planetary logos, to incarnate the life and the beingness of this planet. I invoke the expression of the second ray force into both the personality and the egoic rays of the nation and the personality of the egoic ray of humanity, to fuse itself and its light into its healing process. I invoke the esoteric law of solar energy to make manifest the cosmic force of light, love, and peace. Okay, just relax. Go ahead and open your eyes. Wake people up if they're asleep. So we can see you should have learned a lot over this Trump scenario. We're not over with it. He won't concede. That's really something for you to learn from. You know, he won't concede because of gossip. He's creating the gossip. That's how gossip works. You gossip, and then it gets someone else, and they're mean too. So they add a little shit to it. You know, then the gossip gets more staggering. You know, and then you don't even like the person anymore because the gossip has completely colored the scenario. You're not even open to it because the gossip has created differences and separation and prejudices. Yeah. You know, so imagine all these people, you know, half of the American public who voted for Trump. Yeah. And if you watch the videos, watch the news, watch the interviews with these people, you know, you'll find that they're not the brightest people on the planet. And almost every single one of them quotes Trump. And then they're asked, well, where did you get that? You know, I got it from the news. What news? Trump. You know, or Fox News. Pro-Trump. Yeah. And you know everything that comes out of Trump's mouth is a lie. Because he wants to start a rumor that creates fear. You know, because all the lies are based on this is something you don't understand, you should be afraid of. You know, he's always saying shit like that. Yeah. So it's lower mind that the devil is in charge of. Lower mind. Remember that. Because if you want to get out of the devil's curse, get out of your lower mind. Get out of your emotions. Get out of your desires. Get out of yourself. You know, that thing in yourself that gets you upset because you're not getting what you want. Yeah. Or the things aren't happening the way you think they should. Yeah, that's one way. But this whole other process of there being a militia and this building up of all these things, it's mainly because people spend too much time in a state of inertia. There's not enough soul on this planet. You know, for us to overcome this situation, there needs to be a large mass of people who are willing, and half, if not more, than the people who voted for Biden. You know, so it was a wake-up call. Those people had to make a decisive. They didn't do it just because they're Democrats. You know, they did it because it's the right thing to do, and it makes a lot of sense. Yeah. But the negative conspiracy side, to be a Democrat, you really can't go into those things. You know, to be where they're talking, you know, we're going to do solar, we're going to do eco, we're going to do helping the homeless, we're going to do helping people who got illnesses, we're going to not take away all those things and benefits and all that. Those things are things that are of the higher mind. You know, things that Satan would tell you you have no interest in. You know, and they would give you relationships that would pay you not to have interest. They would, as though God is sponsoring your right idea, your right direction. Yeah, because that's what happens. Satan will pay you for doing what you're doing. Satan will find you a relationship and get your emotional body to the point to where you're going to commit to a marriage. Yeah? And Satan will wind you up in that process to such a degree you think you're in the hands of God. But you have no idea. Your hand with God's hand is between you and God, and not somebody else. And that if you can't enter a relationship without that going on, then you should really consider the relationship. You should really change your value of what that relationship's about. Because you can be in a relationship, but you can be 100% spiritual. And you can do all the right things. It's just that your emotional body isn't drawn into a state of separation to where you need time. You need, to separate yourself and be in this, got to be this way, got to do this thing, got to go live there, got to go be in this separate world. Where when it comes down to our true selves, we are a community, and we're not a community right now. We are not in a state of unity. We do not understand common ground. We're not in fellowship. We're in unrequited love, and we're sponsoring the law of hate, and we have no idea that it's actually hate and not love that it moves us in the lower mind. So all of humanity is moved like that. And the only way we get out of it is through the higher mind. So when we see behavior, when we see change in ourselves, and we continue that change goes on in a collective consciousness. Because in order for you to make that change, all the way from no more gossip, no more this, this and this and all these kind of things that you figure out, as you come back onto the path, you find yourself off the path. And it's your revelation that helps you out. Because your problem is that you've got your intellect telling you what to do, and it's your intellect that's agreeing with Satan. So you got to leave intellect at the door. And you got to go back to sensitivity and not be insensitive. And find yourself in service and not be out of service. Desiring service from others rather than being in service to others. It's a tricky thing, because the service thing is where it flips. We don't know that that's what's going on. You could be doing something in service, but it's service that is self-serving. And you don't know that Satan put you in that job, put you in that situation, because you're a self-serving idiot. And this is your outcome. Now you're going to suffer. Now you're going to go through everything that has to do with suffering. Where you could have taken the spiritual road, which is a whole lot harder, a lot more difficult. You literally got to love everybody. Not look for that one person to love you and you love them, but you got to learn to love everybody unconditionally. And that includes the animals. If you're around a dog or a cat, you should feed that sucker. And not just pet it. You should feed it, because it's not that often that you're around it. It's God that put you there. God put you there to feed the animal. Take care of it in some way. Pet it, feed it, talk to it, nurture it, care for it. Because we're on this earth to be caretakers for each other and for everything, every kingdom below us. If you see a flower and you see it dry and you don't see it doing well, you should have a conscience that moves you so strongly that you get bitterly angry with everybody who doesn't have that consciousness. Because that's God. Even on a smaller level of a plant, when a person goes to that consciousness, it does raise the emotional body to a place to where you'd like to have other people have a soul. Work in the service world would be better for all things if everybody had a soul And you didn't have to remind people to take care of the animal or take care of the plant or take care of this, take care of that. Instead, they're only taking care of themselves. And it's like a job rather than a life of service. And everything, if you remember this prayer, I bring everything to you. Everything, your thought, your problem, your need, your food, your actions. You don't have to be in this monastery. Everybody's in that boat, yeah? But it's a matter of whether or not you appreciate that process and then transfer it around, yeah? Because the energy of me gets into you, yeah? And you'll find yourself going off fixing food for animals or making food for animals or making sure that their food is a proper food and that they're getting fed that food and other people are getting fed food, because food is really important. And most people, you know, I mean, kids don't get fed in the morning if the mother doesn't bother fixing food. That's horrible. That's horrible. That's wrong. It should never get like that. But it is like that because people are too busy in their self working on gossip about the kid or about another person or about something else. And it wipes them out so much. It depletes them so much. They can't be of service in any way. You know? And that's wrong. Does that make sense? Yeah? So ask me into your life for these reasons. Yeah? Yeah? Not to make you richer, not to make you find someone to love you, you know, not to do anything like that, but to do the right thing. Because you should consider, what would Jesus do? And I'm telling you, this is what I do. If you know me, you'll see me doing these things. And I shouldn't be the only one who has a conscience that moves me to do what I do for my fellow man and all of the kingdoms. We should all be like this. We have to be like this. Yeah? Or we're the people that trump the reason why he's in office. Yeah? We're not using the strength to do what we should be doing that's right. Yeah? And it's harder to do what's right. Yeah? But the only way we can ever get into the love of God and come back to God and be able to see Jesus over Satan, you know, is by clearing your head. Yeah? And realizing, you know, that these kind of thoughts can't go on. You know, this kind of action can't go on. You know? If you're cooked a meal, be there on time and eat it with appreciation. That's just as good as cooking it. It's the same thing. Yeah? But if you're, you know, even if you're a minute busy in yourself in the middle of being served, that means Jesus isn't there. Because if Jesus was there, you'd be acting like Jesus. Yeah? Does that make sense? You know? So you have to have a conscience in order to be of service when being served and when serving. It all has to be good. Everything's got to be good. Receiving and giving. Yeah? Can't be just giving because that's fanatical. And it can't be just receiving because that's fanatical. Yeah? It's got to be both. And you got to know that I'm the one doing it. Yeah? But you can interfere and use your own will, and nobody's blessed. But if you come to this in the right way and take these prayers with real understanding that this is what's going on, then you allow the changes to go on in yourself, knowing that you're becoming more like Christ. You know? You're his disciple. You know? Not just an extended sangha or I wish I could, kind of thing, but really real, And as time goes on, that will happen, whether in this life when you die or another life. I just wish everybody would wake up today, because we would end all the suffering. Because you all have this ability of the Holy Spirit, and if you can't get trust in your heart, and you can't get this one thing straight, then you can't give a blessing. Does that make sense? There's no way you can. And you can. You can. You're a child of God. I'm a child of God. We have these gifts. Yeah? And we're just wasting them, through this lower mind. All in our mind. Yeah? Okay? That's it. Thank you all very much.